Welcome to this week's meaningful midweek conversation. Oh, it is so good to be back after a small COVID break last week. So great to be back. Today, we're going to be talking about comfort zones. Oh, yes. Who's comfortable? Put your hands up. But we'll get onto that in a bit. So if this is the first time joining us, hello and welcome. We're 3 YouTube vloggers, amongst other things. I mean, we do other stuff, but yeah, we're 3 vloggers, and we just like to turn up every week for a good chat. Yeah, we just explore a topic, unpick it. We're not experts. There's no right answers, but we do love a good chat. If you are returning, hello and welcome. Thank you for coming back. If you're watching live, we really appreciate you showing up, and we'll love your input into the conversation. And if you're listening later, thank you. And please send us your messages and let us know your thoughts too. So before we get into today's topic, let's find out what everyone's been up to. Paul, where are you? What you been doing? And tell us how you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see you back and feeling much better, Lisa. We've missed you. We last week after doing the Trent and Mersey, we went down the Anderton boat lift, which was amazing, and it's so smooth you don't feel like you're moving. And then onto the River Weaver, and people told us it was beautiful on the River Weaver, and we were sort of like, they're overselling it, but it really is beautiful on the River Weaver, and it's so wide you feel like you're on a lake. It's just fabulous. You can turn around, you can wind your boat at any point. And yeah, we had an incident with cows this morning. I think it's well known, this area, for having a lot of cows in the field, and we were surrounded by bulls, and we're very fortunate that Heidi and Helen and Tony, the Northern Narrowboaters, are moored right behind us, and we had to run onto their boat to get away from the bulls because we're completely surrounded.
I would have been freaking out, Paul. Those cows, not to be trusted, to be trusted. No. So, yeah, well, that sounds hair raising, Paul. That really does. I'm glad you survived and that you could join us today. Maxine, now your internet is a bit in and out, so so if we lose you for a second, we'll know that you'll be coming back. Anyway, where are you and what have you been up to this week?
Right, well, we are now heading back from where we were, and we've just come back from Braunston, and we're heading to Brinklow for the weekend. We were going up the Leicester Arm, but we just had a bit of a delay because we decided we wanted to go to the Brinklow Bash, which is on this weekend, which is some live music and everything. And we went to the Braunston Old Boat Festival at the weekend, which was really good, seeing all the old boats.
Yeah, lovely. That's a good one, isn't it? Detour. Yeah, lovely. Well, why not? So, well, I haven't been anywhere all week. I've been here and I've done nothing. So I've got nothing to add here apart from I am now negative.
Goodness.
So very happy. And also now, like, the fun starts for Harry's wedding on Saturday. So it is all wedding prep now. I've not been able to get my hair done or my nails done because obviously I was testing positive up until yesterday. So my daughter's coming round in a little bit. She's going to cut my hair for me. This is slightly nerve-wracking. She's not a hairdresser. We're just going for it. I'm just like, whatever you can do, Beth. And
she's not got a bowl and some wallpaper scissors, has she?
Well, I mean, she's got a really funky hairdo. Like, her hair is like shaved and long, and it's funky. She looks great, and she cuts her own hair. So she's like, I can do that for you, Mum. I was like, yeah, all right. I've got a fascinator. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So anyway, that is us. So hello to everybody who's joining us. Hello, everybody. And thank you. Yes, feeling much better. Still got a bit of a croaky voice, but I'm going to try not to talk too much today. Oh, I don't know. See how that goes. Today, we are talking about comfort zones. Now, Paul, you suggested this, and then about half an hour ago, we were like, oh, have we talked about comfort zones before? And we were like, oh yeah, we might have. But it don't matter. We come to each conversation anew because like our life is, we're always living and learning. So, you know, it doesn't matter if we've covered this before. Let's go for it. Paul, why comfort zones?
Oh, well, I think it's something last week, especially. I'm not a big fan of tunnels, as you know, and Anthony will always take the tiller because doing the Standedge tunnel, I did scrape the boat and it was pretty bad. And then because he had to cycle back for his car and do some other jobs, I said, I'll take the boat, not realizing there were 3 tunnels until, you know, I read the map. And one of them, it said it was particularly crooked. And it wasn't timed, and there were no traffic lights on it, and you couldn't really see the end of the tunnel, so you just had to go in and blast the horn and put the lights on. And the first one, I did catch the pram cover, but only got a bit of mud on it. But then I reached in, because I'm solo boating at this point, for the torch that put on the roof. And do you know what? I really enjoyed it, and I didn't touch the tunnel at all. The boat was unharmed. I really enjoyed the day. We met a lovely couple that I wouldn't have met if I was a solo boater, because they helped me to open a small stop lock. And we had wine with them that evening, and we've been invited to their house for wine. Yeah, so we made good friends from it, and it does show that it's good to get yourself out of your comfort zone. Have you ever been to a theme park and you've tried to persuade a friend to go on a roller coaster because you know they're going to love it, and they're like, no, I'll stay here and watch the bags? And it's a bit like that, isn't it? And you just knew that, you know that if they go on it, they're going to love it. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? I think as we get older, we get less brave.
Yeah. Well, I've got. Since we decided to talk about comfort zones, it's got me thinking. So, who has read Susan Jeffers' classic book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway?
No.
No. I mean, it is
I've not read it.
No.
Well, do you know what? I read that book when I was 23, so almost 30 years ago. It only seems like yesterday. And that book changed my life. And I haven't read it for 30 years. It's not one that I keep going back to. But I still remember the words on the first page. And the words were, the fear's not going away. And I was a bit like, well, that's not what I need to know. And then the second paragraph was, the only way to make the fear of something go away is to just do it. And that book, I mean, that sums up the book basically on that first page. But it was life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing. So I just wondered if anyone else had read it. If you're watching, let us know. Mick has just said, as Dale Carnegie said, feel the fear and do it anyway. Well, Susan Jeffers said it after him as well, and she wrote a book on it. So it's the same, the same thing. So, comfort zones. I've got so many questions to ask, right? Are you someone who seeks out that out of comfort zone feeling, a bit like the fun fair ride? Some people love that feeling, if they find it exhilarating, so they go to fun fairs and for that feeling. Is stepping out of your comfort zone, are you one of those people that do it often? Is basically what I'm trying to say.
Well, Maxine, you go first. No,
I'm not at all. No, not at all. But when I do step out of it, I'm really pleased I have done, because it's exhilarating and I feel like I've accomplished something. But the initial thing of doing it petrifies me, and I feel physically sick, and it's horrible. But once I've done it, and Steve's a bugger for doing it to me, and he always says afterwards, see, told you it'd be all right.
Really?
I always think of the worst things that could happen.
Do you?
And this week's been a classic. Yeah.
Really? Have you been out of your comfort zone?
Oh, completely. Yesterday, I took the boat through 3 locks, which I've never done.
Well done.
And it didn't sink.
We survived.
Isn't it funny though that these little things that we do, it really boosts your confidence?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I used to be petrified of taking the boat out on my own until we needed water. Thought I've got to go and move the boat, and it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Wow, that is one of the things that I realised reading Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, is that actually the stuff that we're comfortable with, it holds no fear for us. So for an example, I don't know, making a cake, no fear, right?
No.
Changing a wheel on a car, yeah, that would be outside of my comfort zone, right? Now, speak to Glenn, obviously he's well practiced at changing wheels. There's no fear for him. If I said, here's some eggs and some flour, crack on, he'd be like, ugh. So what, the stuff that we're good at, that we know, obviously holds no fear. So it's the new stuff, isn't it? It's the stuff that we're not sure. Why is that? Why? Is it because I know I'm pretty good at following instructions, right? If someone said do A, B, C, D, E, I know I could do that. But where does that feeling of fear or anxiety when you step out, what is it? Is it a failing, do we reckon? Or is it because our mind tells us something's going to go horribly wrong?
It's our mind, isn't it? If you think back to early man, if they stepped out of their cave to go and get their meal, they could be eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It is that. If you feel comfortable, and it's very easy, isn't it, in this kind of environment, to be in a cozy space with the fire lit. You don't want to go out. And I think we all know as well, that if you've got to walk a dog, you've got to go out in the rain, you've got to go out in the cold, but actually you feel better at the end of it. It's just human nature, isn't it, to do things that we know make us feel safe and make us feel comfortable.
There's a lifestyle vlogger that I watch who often says it's called a comfort zone for a reason. It's comfortable, and she don't want to leave it. And I think, I think she might be on something. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at what everybody else is saying about it. So let's have a look. Hello to everybody. So Mick from Thailand is saying, I think I let loose on my comfort zone 8 years ago when I retired in Thailand. Very scary, but very rewarding. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, that's a whole change of life. I think in comfort zone terms, that one, when you change your life so drastically. So hello to everybody. Mick said, Maxine, you have stepped outside the norm. You live on a boat. So So Mick also says, you're confusing ability with knowledge. Knowledge is growth, he says. So I think that's what I was saying about, that feeling of being unable to do something, but once you learn how to do it. So that's and hello to everybody. Hello, and thank you for your good wishes. So what does it feel like physically when you step outside your comfort zone? Like, is it like being in the queue to get on a roller coaster? Is it like your brain goes into overdrive? How do you know? Because we don't often say that to ourselves, do we? Oh, I'm going to do this. This is stepping out of my comfort zone. We often only know we're stepping outside our comfort zone when our body starts screaming at us. So what does physically that look like for you, Maxine?
I do feel physically sick. I shake. I get quite grumpy as well, and very short-tempered, as I found out yesterday. Or Steve found out yesterday. And because I just need to be left alone and concentrate, and don't want anybody to talk to me. I just close up to get my head round anything. The new thing that's going to happen, what I'm doing.
Yeah, and just focus on the task at hand, I suppose.
Yeah.
In a way,
Yeah.
that's quite, because there's not many times, because of the society we live in, because it's a distracted society, isn't it? There's always something going on. So that feeling of focusing in on what we're doing actually is quite, it's quite a nice feeling when you're in it. So if you think back to like you know, taking your driving test or doing something where you are completely focused, you haven't, the fears actually while you're doing it go, because you're so focused on the activity. That's actually quite a nice feeling. Well, I find it quite enjoyable. The bit before, terrifying, but that moment, when you're in that moment, I like it. What about you, Paul? Like when you were going through the tunnel and you were just having to focus on the tunnel.
Oh yeah, I get a dry throat and my heart starts pounding, and I'm like, I start to break out with a sweat. It's weird, isn't it? And it's maybe being in our comfort zone is also our safe zone, isn't it? And I think I was just thinking then as well while we were talking, I think we get so insular and into a routine that feels safe and comfortable. It's like, have you ever been invited to a night out and you think, I can't be bothered tonight, I'd rather sit in by the fire and have the TV on and I'm tired, and you go out and you meet new people and you have a fantastic time and you come back buzzing. But yeah, it is that initial, I've got a real fear of heights too. I remember going to Hong Kong in one of the tallest buildings in the world, and the lift was that fast, it got you to the top in seconds, and you stepped out and you could feel the building swaying. Well, I couldn't even walk. I'm 10 feet near the edge. It's like, you know, everyone else is walking up to the edge where it's a glass screen. I'm like, you're crazy. My legs are freezing now thinking about it. Yeah, my knees are looking. And I'm sweating.
Oh man, I have just seen this message from Spence. Oh, I think I've pressed the wrong one. Sorry. That's let me find Spence's. Here we go. Rach and I were inspired by Life of a Minute. Oh, I feel pressure now. And have given up our jobs in London, finished last week, and we are throwing ourselves into building a new life in the country. Oh, wow. I'm so excited for you. We actually met Spencer and Rach on the towpath. Oh, it's got to be, I think it was when we were moving. It was towards the end of us being, you know, on the cut off, you know, off-grid mooring. And we had the absolute pleasure of speaking to both of them. And we actually found out that Spence went to the same school as Glenn, but was in the year above or below. I can't remember which. I mean, it was crazy. I am so excited for you guys. That is exciting. That brings me on, is actually going back to what Mick said as well. Sometimes being out of your comfort zone is like for half an hour going through a tunnel or doing a task. Sometimes it could last for weeks, months, like Mick and like Spence, where you're creating a whole new life. I think that's like so hard, because you're completely those emotions that you feel, you know, for a long period of time can be exhausting. Can you think of any times that you've been out of your comfort zone for a long time, Paul?
Yeah, the first time I did paid magic shows and I was only about 17, it's like for a whole week it was on my mind and thinking, am I good enough? And then the night before, not sleeping very well, and the day of the actual show, not being able to eat, and physically shaking, and then doing the show, getting paid for it, and thinking, actually, that wasn't too bad at all, was it? It's mad. And it's, again, your comfort zone. So I find it weird. I can go on a stage in front of 500 people and not be nervous because it's such a familiar routine and it's my comfort zone being on stage. But I can go to a party where there's 10 people and feel out of my comfort zone. And I think people find that really strange, but it's just obvious, isn't it?
Yeah. What about you, Maxine? Now, obviously, you've changed your life recently, a complete change of life. Does where you're at now, are you feeling this is your comfort zone? Has it? Because obviously you go through that stage. You've moved, you've sold, your house, you've bought a boat. There was that whole adjustment period. Are you now like, yeah, we're comfortable? Or does it still feel that you're out of your comfort zone?
It's getting closer to being my comfort zone. It still has occasions when it's not. And it's something that we're getting closer and closer to, because as the lifestyle and everything is becoming more normal. But yeah, there's still things that we're still trying to fathom out and get used to. And I think it's not the moving around and that type of thing. It's fantastic, and yeah, we're getting used to that side. I think it's the not being able to nip to my mum's. And so that I'm still trying to get that straight in my head at the moment.
To work. That's
I think Steve's taken to it. He's straight into it. It's his complete comfort zone, and he just loves the life.
There's a lot, isn't there? When you when it's your whole life that you change really quickly. This actually brings me to another question, is how does being out of your comfort zone, we talked about how it feels physically, but is there part of you that enjoys it, like a fun fair ride, that scares you a little but it makes you feel exhilarated? Is there a part of you that actively chooses to step out of your comfort zone because you love that exhilaration? Shall I be honest?
Yeah, go on.
In the past, I think I was a bit of a out of my comfort zone junkie. I liked it. I would actively chase that feeling. And over the last few years, I've settled back into feeling comfortable in my comfort zone. So I've done both in the past. When people say they hate change, I'm like, oh, me, no, change. I'm running to it. I love it just for the sake of it. And I think it's that feeling that I was chasing, that exhilaration. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Actually. It gives you a buzz. So definitely.
Does anybody else, or has in the past, actively stepped out of their comfort zone as a conscious choice? And again, it might not, the thought process might not be, oh, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, but it's like, let's do this because that's a little bit scary. Does anyone else do that, or just me?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a real fear of water as well. Sorry, Maxine. I'm not a strong swimmer. Yeah, no, I'm not a strong swimmer. And I think we're on holiday in Australia and we're on the Barrier Reef. And I thought everyone's going snorkeling. And I didn't realise it was like an hour boat ride to the Barrier Reef from Cairns, and the boat's like this. It's like, and we get there and they're like, just jump in. And we had this life ring type thing. And, but yeah, that for me was petrifying, but I thought I've got to do it. And again, loved it.
Ah, that's good. Max, is anything, what have you been like in the past? Have you had a similar feeling towards change or stepping out of your comfort zone?
Change doesn't bother me whatsoever, but stepping out of my comfort zone, I very rarely did years ago. It's only really since I've been with Steve, and he's made me, because we've done, it's his fault, but we've done stupid things together, and he's made me do things. And because I always think that something nasty could happen, basically. So, and he always assures me, no, it won't, but just do it. And I get so het up before we do it. And then afterwards, absolutely, I'm so chuffed that I've done something, and it's given us a buzz, and we've, it's been absolutely amazing. It's the same as you just said, Paul. Steve, when we were on our honeymoon, we made me go snorkeling, and I was so scared because I'm not the strongest swimmer. I can swim, but I don't want to mess about. And he used to go diving and everything, so he said to me, come and have a go. I did that in the pool, and then we went snorkeling as well, and I was so scared, but it was one of the best things I've ever done. So I mean, I will do it now, but I will still get uptight and shirty and mardy to begin with, and then I'm all right afterwards.
Oh, do you know what? I've just thought of a time when it doesn't go well, but let me just it's just popped into my head. I was like, don't forget it. So Deb, what's Deb up to? She's stepping out of her comfort zone. I'm going to be out of my comfort zone for a year starting next year, living in a van, exploring outback Australia. Man, that is an adventure.
Wow.
Mick always comes up with is like a guru over there in Thailand. Many people don't know the real reasons for a change of life. Everyone has a life reset button. It's a matter of who presses it. Yeah,
true.
Let's have a look. What's Ian saying? Comfort zones and being YouTube, afraid of comparing yourself against other people and channels. I think what do they say about comparison? There's a saying, isn't there? Comparison robs you of some. I can't remember what it is, but basically no good comes from comparing. I think
no.
I think that's the thing. I actually deleted Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter off my phone a couple of days ago. That's because I'd spent days while I was ill just scrolling on it. And I think you're right, Ian. That's, that does make you. Does it make you step out of your comfort zone, or does it make you just feel less than? I think for me, sometimes when you look at that, you just feel less than, don't you, when you compare yourself? So, but I think by being on YouTube, then there is that, again, fear of failure, which I think comes a lot with being outside of your comfort zone, isn't it? It's that fear of failure, fear of being judged. And I think they are key things to why stepping out of our comfort zone feels awful. We don't like think, if I do this and I fail, then people are going to think this of me. But I think maybe it's so deep rooted, we don't even recognize it. That's a really good point, Ian. Thank you for sharing. There's lots on. My brain is a bit slow, honestly. I keep saying no, I feel well, and then my brain's like, no, it's slow. Deb. Deb's done lots of exciting adventures. I did a no-spend year, which was way out of my comfort zone, and it was exhilarating because I learned so much. Deb, that is fascinating. I've thought of doing a no-spend year, but they often tend to go like my diets. I start them on a Monday. By Tuesday night, I've failed. So,
we're like your honesty, Lisa.
It's true. Anyone that watches our channel knows that's the way it goes. It's like can I just say though, it is Thursday. I've been doing remarkably well this week. I think Mr. Warner's a bad influence on me. I really do. So, I think he is.
Glenn.
Right. I was going to say, when does stepping out of your comfort zone, sometimes it just doesn't go well, right? So what I was thinking of is, do you remember that I'd had an experience at Go Ape years ago? It didn't go well. I was out of my comfort zone. And then I got another opportunity to do it, and I didn't want to. And do you know what? There was, I mean, I gave myself all the self-talk. I was like, you can do this. Yes, step out your comfort zone. It didn't go well. I stepped out of my comfort zone and I failed. So, you know, sometimes when we step out of our comfort zone, it hasn't got this happy ending of like, I succeeded, I'm grown, I'm a bigger person. All I know from that is I never want to do that again. Right? So sometimes it doesn't go well. And the learning from it is something you knew already. Anybody else had that experience where you think, well, it weren't worth it? Can you think of a time, or again, was that just me? No,
I can't think of a time, but now you've got to be thinking, I wish I had the guts to do a parachute jump, but if that doesn't go well, it's not going to end well at all.
There's no going back from it.
You can't come back from that and say, well, that wasn't a success. I'm not doing that again. But that's that fear thing again, isn't it? And it's almost like a roller coaster ride. You're strapped in and you think, I'm strapped in. But we know there's accidents at fairgrounds and they can go wrong. And you convince yourself that you'll be safe because you're all strapped in. But then we put ourselves through it. It's like watching a horror film. Anthony loves horror films. I hide behind a cushion. And it's like occasionally people over the top. And if it makes me jump, but again, it's exhilarating, isn't it? I think that's why people love horror films.
Yeah.
Debs
just said that she, oh no, not that one, sorry, not that one. This one. Deb just said she was successful with the no spend year and she blogged about it. Deb, can you put your a link to your blog in the comments? Because I know that a lot of us would love to check that out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, another canal event. Hole in. I just can't do that. No, that clock, no, I'm with you. And that's, you see, so there's some things that we're like, no, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be scared in that way. It doesn't bring anything to me.
Anthony's not scared of much, you know. He's done paragliding. I'm sure he'd do a parachute jump tomorrow. Yeah. He's done lots of things like that. And he loves all these horror films and scary films. But we're watching one particular film and it was petrified. I couldn't look. But the only bit that disturbed Anthony was when they got stuck potholing and they were trapped. And he went, no.
Yeah. I think that was, I think that's worth bearing in mind, isn't it? Because, you know, I don't know whether it's Paul or Mark from Yet Another Canal Adventure saying, abseiling, zip lines, etc. I can do, but not potholing. So it's interesting, isn't it? How some things we're just like, no. So the benefits of stepping out of our comfort zone are that we feel better. It's Mark from Yet Another Canal Adventure. Mark. Hello, Mark. Stepping out of our comfort zone, it does or can make us feel exhilarated, excited. It boosts our self-confidence, the way we see ourselves. There's a lot to be said for doing it.
Yeah.
So my next question is, do we do it enough? Do you actively choose to step out of your comfort zone on a regular basis?
No.
Yes.
Oh, well. And let me just say, I don't think I actively choose, but I just end up doing stuff that I stop and think sometimes, how, why are we here? And then I think, I did this. I made this happen. So I think I subconsciously do it. Maxine, do you, because you said yes, do you, so it would been easy for you not to do those locks yesterday, wouldn't it?
Very easy. Totally.
Yeah. So
I mean, I've never thought about doing them, and then we were discussing it and I said, I've got to be brave, basically, and do it.
Just do it.
And I must admit, it was very, very close to me chickening out and saying, no, I'm not doing it. And then when he got off the boat, I was on the boat by myself, which I've never, ever been. And Steve walked down to each one. So I had to literally take her out. And it wasn't far, but it was still me. And that was it on the boat.
Well done.
Well
done.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy to
very, very easy.
No tomorrow or another day. Well done.
I've got filming to do. That's my excuse.
Yeah. That's so have you always been like that?
Yeah. From being a child. Yeah. When I hear the stories about when I was a child, I've always been. I always look on the negative side, that something could happen bad.
So I wonder whether it's something that we're born with, or it's something that we can learn to embrace, that feeling. I think we're programmed in a way to step away from the stuff that's painful. Some of us, step away from the stuff that scares us, and some of us, like you were saying, Paul, about Anthony, I think some of us like that feeling of being scared a little bit. So I wonder, nature nurture, whether we're born that way or whether we can do stuff to I wonder. I really do.
Do you think we all have a limit? I think that I know my limits. I can't sing for toffee, and my worst nightmare would be getting up on stage doing karaoke or singing.
Mine too.
Yeah, I was made to do it once. And what did Anthony pick? Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's like, it's not the easiest song in the world to sing, is it? And it felt like 20 minutes of torture for me and the audience. And it was probably about 2 minutes long.
I'm with you there. I'm with you. So, Paul, you don't actively choose to. Do you think after this conversation you can see some benefits for doing something that scares you, like choosing to?
Yeah. I'm not very convinced to do it.
Every part of you is like, no.
Well, actually, I was going to say to Auntie, because we know that most of the time, if you fall in a canal, you can stand up. And I'm not a strong swimmer, so that doesn't bother me. If I fall in, I don't think I'd panic. But the other day, I was walking down the Gunnels, and we're on a big river, and I thought, I'm just walking down the Gunnels, so I've not got my life vest on. Yeah. And what if I fell in? Yeah. And I was actually thinking, maybe I should say to Anthony, you get in the water, and I'll fall in. To see if I can swim to the side, because then that will build my confidence. But like, why would you put yourself through that?
Yeah,
near-death experience. No, thank you.
I don't know. Yeah, it's Deb's just put singing is just a bit of fun, nothing to worry about. What is the worst that can happen? You're not going to die. No, but everybody listening might be so harmed by my singing. But
she says that, but I know an entertainer who had on his gravestone, not the first time I've died. So there's a reason for that saying, isn't there? I died on stage tonight.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is I'm just having a look. Mick says,
thinking about these things.
What's that?
I'm sweating just thinking about these things out of my comfort zone. It is warm today.
So Nick's saying it's about a control thing, about things being out of your control. He says you can also see as being outside your financial state and loss of control. It's a control thing as well. So absolutely. Let's lots of good comments there. So Do you know your limits, your comfort zone limits? When does it go from, oh, I'm out of my comfort zone, I'm doing something that's scaring me, to this is a no? My brain goes to that whole high wire treetop nightmare. There was out of my comfort zone, and then there was just like, no, this is no. But I mean, fortunately, I had the choice to. Sometimes we're out of our comfort zone. Say, for example, I broke down. I don't even like saying it because, like, I believe our thoughts have real power. But say, for example, I broke down. I was on my own on the motorway or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's things where you're like, no more. But there's sometimes where you're in a situation, you can't just like walk away from that situation. So do we know our limits, and what do we do when, well, hopefully we just walk away if we're pushed.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because it's that fight or flight, and if adrenaline kicks in, people are known to do amazing things. And you know, I suppose if I was in a plane and it crashed into the sea, I wouldn't think I'm not getting out because I might drown. You just get out and go for it, wouldn't you? Know your limit. And actually, if I go on a roller coaster and I think this is really scary and I don't like heights, what am I doing? I think, well, I've got this bar that holds me in and I'm safe. But then I actually also think, look at all those times you see on the news where a roller coaster ride breaks down and the firemen come and rescue them. So I look for the ladder and think, well, at least, you know, if it breaks down, I can be rescued.
Do you know what I do on like a fairground ride if it's really scary? I shut my eyes, as in like I shut my eyes, and my self-talk, I'm pretty good at talking myself down from a heightened state of anxiety. I'm quite good at that. I think it's because I lived with anxiety for a long time, and when I learned how to sort of notch that down, so sometimes I just shut my eyes and I'm just like, all is well, you're in great hands, this is safe, and this is
not
all
good
right.
when you do your emergency stop on a driving lesson though, is it?
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine, they were talking about, you know, like driving in snow when like the car just slips on ice or something. Yeah. And my friends were talking. My friend's a great driver, and she was like, yeah, you sort of steer in or steer out, and then you like this, and you're. I said, oh no, it works for me every time. I shut my eyes and just go like that. Works every time. She was like, no, that's not how it works. But so I do, Paul. I do. So Mix also said, and this is actually an interesting point. So I think we should involve Glenn in this debate. Being a special constable, how many times has he been in a place of questions or questionable? Well, I know that the experiences, you know, as a police officer, put Glenn in situations that he'd never experienced before. Oh, I thought it was Glenn walking through the door. I was like, timing. It's not. It's Bethy. She come to cut my hair. So, but I know that that put him in situations that he had never been in before and were completely outside of his comfort zone. And I think just arresting somebody, I mean, you legally have to do that in a certain way. You have to say those words. There's a lot of pressure to get that right at that time. And I think, you know, anybody that goes through, what is it? It's like 6 months of training.
Yeah.
And then to be out there in the world to do that. I mean, that is out of comfort zone level. I'm not sure, you know.
Do we feel braver when there's somebody else with us? So, you know, does that make sense? So if you go on a roller coaster, you've got friends with you, it sort of lightens the load.
That's a good point, Paul. There's a couple of things I can think of, and again, these, you'll look at these and you'll think like, oh, they're nothing, but they've made me feel better. So when I was I did some care work a few years ago, and I know that when I was partnered up with somebody, even if we both didn't know what we were doing, the fact that we were together made that easier. Also, I can think of if I don't mind driving, but say if I've got to drive somewhere to a city that I don't know, just having somebody sit next to me, even if they don't know where we're going either, but to have that person immediately calms me, makes me feel less anxious than if I'm on my own. So yeah. Note self, offer to drive, Lisa, don't accept a lift. So yeah, if someone else drive, I'm well happy with that. So anyway, let's have a look at what the time is. We've been chatting on for ages. It's 12:45. Yeah, we better wind this up. I'm so glad we've had another opportunity to explore what our comfort zones look like, because I think I'm guilty of, especially over the last few years, of not stepping outside of my comfort zone enough. So this conversation has really made me think. So yeah, thank you. Before we go, and I forget to do this most weeks, is there anything this week that has made you think, that has just brought you joy, or what, something that's cheered you this week?
Yeah, for us, we went to a wedding, and it was a couple we met on holiday. We just happened to get talking, and it turned out that the guy was from Chapel on the Frith, and Anthony used to manage a pub on Chapel on the Frith. And the more they got talking, it turned out that Anthony had met his dad, because his dad used to go to the bar all the time, and this was miles away in Cape Verde. And we went to their wedding. It's the third attempt because of COVID. And it was fantastic. It was in a big field in Derbyshire, beautiful countryside, and we had such a good laugh. Some of it I cannot talk about.
That is excellent.
But
it makes us feel connected, doesn't it? When you meet someone in and you have those common threads, it makes us feel that we're all connected. That's lovely. Maxine, is there anything that you can think of this week?
I suppose the only thing really is that we met, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, met these people through Twitter. They're boaters as well. And we just hit it off really, really well. And so that's why we're turned around to go back to Brinklow to see them again this weekend, just to spend more time with them, because then we're all going our different ways for the foreseeable future, sort of thing. And so,
that's lovely. So both yours have involved people out there in the world. My week has involved no people. But the thing that I have really enjoyed this week is the podcast I've listened to, the TED Talks, just having that to connect me to the world outside. So there was too many to mention, to be honest. Podcasts and TED Talks. I'm so thankful for TED Talks. That's me. So thank you so much to everybody who's joined us. It has been great. Thank you for your comments. We really do appreciate it. It's always lovely to hear your thoughts on what we're talking about. So we will see you next week, hopefully, all being well. We will come back next Thursday and continue the conversation. If anyone's got any ideas of what we should talk about, let us know. It would be great. So anyway, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Bye.